Hello, Dr. James Bogash, expert in health and longevity and creator of Bogash Life and Balance. And today we're going to talk about a conversation that is really quite important, but has become even more important with the whole push for vaccinating everybody and your dog, regardless of underlying risk for COVID. And that has to do with the variants and whether or not vaccinations work against variants. And could vaccinations actually be leading to variants? And you might be a little bit surprised at the answer to that question. But a lot of this was stemmed from a recent publication out of Israel. And if you're not aware, Israel has kept very good data on coronavirus, the mutations, as well as the vaccination. And considering that, it makes it easier because a huge chunk of their population is covered under a single health payer. So the data is easily at their fingertips. And they found that there's a couple variants that are going on right now, but of particular concern is the UK variation, or the B117, and the South African variant, or it's 1.117 or 1.351. And whether or not these variants are more contagious or more dangerous is still up for debate. But the one thing that's clear is that the vaccine, what we've seen out of Israel and out of other sites, is that the South African variant, the vaccination is not, there's the breakthrough vaccinations are occurring in that particular, with that particular variant. Somewhat with the B117, the UK variant, but more so with the South African variant. Well, everybody would say, well, that's fine because that leads to, it's fine because only 1% of the cases in Israel in this population study were from the South African variant. So that's fine. Here's the thing to consider, is if there's a particular variant that escapes vaccination and it is designed, because these viruses aren't sentient beings. We've certainly given them a mindset and determination all of their own, but they're not sentient beings. They are viral fragments, RNA fragments, DNA fragments. A virus is just designed to replicate, no more than a virus in your computer, which is not alive, but certainly can create enough havoc. But a virus generally becomes more contagious, less lethal. We're seeing some of that, but we're starting to mess with Mother Nature with the mass vaccination scenario. So if right now the 1% variation, or 1% of South African variant is seen in Israel, we fast forward, and if that's the only one that can spread and the vaccine doesn't work very well against that, then guess what's going to happen to that particular variant over time is it's going to gain a higher percentage, which is what we see with the UK variant in Israel, is over time, almost every viral, every variation, mutant, if you will, because it's a lot scarier term, then that's what they're seeing most of, and very little of other types. So these variants have a tendency to become more prevalent because that's what they're doing. If they're having a hard time becoming more contagious, they're going to make themselves more contagious. Again, that's acting like it's a sentient being, but more contagious variants will become more common because that's what they do. So it's a grave concern. Like, you notice we've seen a lot more talk about variants since December, January, February. And how much of these variants are actually being produced by the vaccination? We don't have an answer, but it's certainly a uncomfortable discussion in immunology circles. And that's not unusual. We see that with other vaccines where we see rising cases. Prevnar is a perfect example. The pneumococcal vaccine and originally came out as Prevnar 7. We saw other variants raised their ugly heads that created more hospitalizations, more problems. So in on a white horse came Prevnar 13. And now we're looking at Prevnar 21, I think. And each time they're like, well, you need to get vaccinated again because the last one doesn't work anymore because we created so many monsters with the first vaccination, the second vaccination, that you now need the third. So what does this all boil down to is that we're still avoiding the elephant in the room, and that is, if we all took better care of ourselves, then none of this would be a matter. Who cares if it's a variant? Our immune system can still handle that. And the approach that vaccination is the only answer may be creating more problems in the long run of forcing variants to occur that now aren't handled by the vaccine. And we're still back to the original problem that you need to take care of yourself, which is a discussion we've been avoiding the entire time, and it may be that we circle back around to that. Or everybody lives with vaccine passports and you have to get immunized every 6 months to a year, and that's the rest of our life for the rest of human being, which is not an answer I would like to fall back on. As always, I'll post a link to the Israeli study in the description section. Make sure you like this video, share it with somebody who you think needs the information, and subscribe to the channel.